Imagine this. Long before fire, before language, before even the idea of a caveman, someone picked up a rock and turned it into a weapon. Not out of instinct, but calculation, strategy, and possibly revenge. What if the first murder in history wasn't out of necessity but over a stolen banana? Welcome to the real Stone Age, a world that looked more like Planet of the Apes than human civilization. The earliest signs of tool use aren't just theories. They come from 3.4 million-year-old animal bones, scarred and slashed by something sharper than teeth, something man-made, or almost man. These remains tell a chilling story someone used tools to butcher prey, and those tools weren't crude branches or lucky rocks. They were part of a deliberate toolkit. At a dig site in the dusty terrain of Coloma Cay, archaeologists discovered a set of tools that date back 3.3 million years. That's older than any pyramid, older than Homo sapiens, older than fire itself. Around 20 surprisingly well-preserved relics were found: primitive anvils, sharp-edged flakes, and the cores they were struck from. The wild part? One flake fit its core like a jigsaw puzzle. Proof it was crafted right there on the spot. These tools are believed to have been made by a species called Arkozanthropus, mendari, an ancient ancestor that may or may not be part of our direct lineage. Think of it as a very clever chimpanzee with serious anger issues. Despite its primitive appearance, this species had something modern chimps don't 2 feet on the ground. By 3.3 million years ago, Arkozanthropus was already walking upright. Not just awkward waddling like modern chimps attempting yoga, but confident, bipedal strides, and that made all the difference. This creature was fully locked into the Stone Age mindset. It wasn't just finding sharp rocks, it was creating them. Smashing tough volcanic stones until they split like glass, producing jagged blades that could cut, scrape, and crush. These weren't toys. They were weapons, multi-purpose tools, extensions of the mind. Today's chimps and orangutans also use tools, sure. But what they don't do is take raw material and manufacture it into a tool set. That's what separates a curious ape from a primitive engineer. And the wildest part? The 3.3 million-year-old tools of Arkozanthropus might just be more advanced than what some primates are doing today. Our closest living relative chimpanzees are no strangers to tool use. They've been seen fashioning makeshift spears from sticks to stab prey or dig out juicy grubs. But let's be clear, these aren't sharpened weapons forged with purpose. They're just broken branches with a pointy end, brutally simple, like trying to do brain surgery with a chopstick. Chimps do use rocks too, but nowhere near the level of Arkozanthropus mendari. They mainly use stones as hammers and anvils, usually to crack open fruits that are so tough they might as well be nature's equivalent of a locked safe. Their solution? Smash it. Some fruits are simply too fibrous to be eaten raw, so they place one on a stone slab and wallop it with another. It's effective, sure, but not much more sophisticated than the way otters crack open shellfish. That said, when it comes to sticks, chimps start showing a bit more flair. They've been observed using a toolkit of twigs for termite hunting. And yes, this is a 3-step process. First, they break into the termite mound using one stick. Then they stab deep holes into the nest using a thicker one. Finally, they use a thinner, flexible stick to fish out the termite essentially, making a meat lollipop. It's not tool making, but it's a step up from random stick poking. Now, it's very likely that Arkozanthropus also used wooden tools like these. We just haven't found any, because unlike stone, wood decomposes over millions of years. So the fossil record is biocidally preserving the indestructible. That means we're probably underestimating just how creative these early proto-humans really were. What's striking, though, is that chimps have never been caught in the act of shaping rocks into cutting tools. Not once. While Arkozanthropus was striking stones to produce flint flakes, chimps were just chucking them. This gap might come down to environment. Chimps live deep in forests, where sharp rocks like flint are rare, and even if they stumble on a good one, odds are They don't realize what it could do. Then again, there might be a deeper issue. Brain power. Producing sharp-edged flakes from a stone isn't just about muscle, it takes planning. You need to know how hard to strike, where to hit, and what angle to use. Chimps may not yet be wired for that level of problem solving. And if they are, well, we've never seen it happen. Despite what some viral videos might suggest, we're still a long way from chimps founding their own Stone Age society. But it does make you wonder, if a chimp started crafting blades, how long before it figures out taxes? Now here's where I call out the nonsense. People love to say chimps are entering the Stone Age. But if that's the case, then so are otters, and eagles, and even some fish. Yes, fish. Otters smash clams with rocks, vultures drop stones to break eggs, and groupers team up with moray eels like underwater mob bosses. If using stones qualifies you for the Stone Age, we've got to start handing out cave leases to half the animal kingdom. Sure, you could argue chimps are evolving faster. But here's the thing, we've known for decades that chimps have been using stone hammers. Not just recently, for thousands of years. And based on the fossil evidence, they've likely been doing it for hundreds of thousands. So no, this isn't some new revolution. It's just that humans are finally paying attention. The idea that chimps are suddenly upgrading their civilization is misleading. They're not building stone skyscrapers. They're not drafting blueprints. They're doing the same thing they've always done, smashing stuff to get food. Their tool use isn't groundbreaking, it's ancient. And pretending it's a sign of rapid evolution is like watching a squirrel open a nut and calling it the Industrial Revolution. That said, there have been some wild moments. In certain cases, apes have watched humans perform a task then copied it, like the orangutan that learned how to fish by observing locals with spears. Impressive, right? Until you realize it's just a sharpened stick. That's not innovation. That's mimicry. Don't get me wrong, chimps, orangutans, gorillas, they're all fascinating. Watching them is like peering through a time machine into what we used to be. The grunts, the gestures, the social game sits, a living snapshot of our evolutionary past. But let's not pretend they're inventing iPhones with banana skins just yet. Species like chimps and bonobos are more than just animals in the jungle, they're windows into our forgotten past. These are our closest living relatives. The last time any of our ancestors looked that way hairy, hunched, and casually flinging poop it was somewhere between 5 and 7 million years ago. That's so far back, continents look different. But at least they give us a glimpse of what our early relatives might have been like before we invented language, cities, or memes. It's kind of tragic that none of the other hominin species made it through history's filter. No Neanderthals. No Denisovans. Just us. Everyone else, extinct. Lost to time, wars, or probably bad luck with climate. Would have been nice to have a few cousins around to compare notes with. But what's done is done. History doesn't do rewinds. Thanks for tagging along for this little trip back through deep time. If you enjoyed this short journey, feel free to subscribe and smash that like button so hard it splits like ancient flint. Also, I finally made an Instagram for this channel. That's where I post behind-the-scenes stuff, random updates, and the occasional prehistoric meme. Links in the description. Go give it a look. Catch you in the next episode of Cave Fire Tales. Until then, keep your rocks sharp and your bananas safe.